This is a Broken Reel Media production, and you're listening to the Something's Wrong Here podcast.
Check one. Yo. Check two. Check. Check three. Yo. Check 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Something's Wrong Here podcast. If you have not listened to last week's episode, go do that before you do listen to this, because we're going to jump right in from where we left off, and it's probably not going to make any sense to you. But
or it may.
It may not. I am Randy.
I'm Brian.
I'm Ken-Zee.
I'm Grant.
And we have Grant in the house, and it kind of brings up the original idea I had for a podcast when I thought about making one. I thought about doing a political one, and it was going to be drinking with my liberal friends.
Oh, sorry. That sounds good.
So, with that being said, as Ken-Zee makes that noise, last episode he did not get pissed or push his mic away or anything, and was engaged in a political conversation. So
I was very proud of him.
There's growth. It is possible to teach an old dog new tricks, even though he's only like 5.
I'm also the youngest one in here, minus this fucking child.
See, that you can't 30. Say that.
I'm sorry.
I love that you're not the baby anymore.
Aren't you still walking uphill both ways?
Don't care, man.
Yeah.
I'm the grumpy asshole. That's just my role.
He's a grumpy asshole, and now you don't get to be the coddled little child in the room.
By age.
Yes. You don't get to be the. We get to be the whipping boy instead of the chosen one.
I'm sorry, what?
You said you get to be the whipping boy.
Whip away.
Yes.
Whip away, Merrill. Whip away.
He said to, so I mean,
fair game. What you got, babe?
He said it.
Fair game. So with that being said, last episode we talked about it's day 3 of the Trump presidency, and there has been plenty to talk about. That's why we're doing this. And, we all kind of lie on different areas of the spectrum when it comes to politics, our voting habits, and our beliefs. All of us still believe in doing what's right, treating people like humans, taking care of who needs taken care of. Ken-Zee needs a little more care here and there. So,
fuck off, Randy. You want the conservative side of me?
He is conservative. There you go.
Articulate.
Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself, Randy.
But with that being said, we all fall on a different spectrum of voting. And when we opened up the first episode, I said I lie on the right side, and Grant's more towards the left, and you guys fall somewhere in between us, so it's been a good conversation.
I straddle the highway of dumbasses running right down the middle of my road.
Yeah, I think we all agree, too. I mean, it was pointed out to me again today that, only 52% have a reading comprehension above 6th grade in the United States.
That's so crazy. That explains so much.
It explains a lot, but how the fuck is that possible? I think, is it the No Child Left Behind that we're just going to push them along?
No. It's that we don't incentivize it.
I think a contributing factor, absolutely.
We don't incentivize education.
True. We don't.
Meritocracy in education, achievement. That's part of it. That's part of what we could have gotten that to the last episode.
Well, that was the problem, wasn't it, with No Child Left Behind, was that they all had to meet a certain score to pass, and then they just would, instead of it being individual, like, they need help with this, they need help with, like, from what I've heard it was before, because I grew up right in that.
I would equate it to the difference between teaching children how to memorize facts, memorize things, pass the test.
Yeah.
That gets us our federal funding.
It's not teaching them and memorizing.
That's not teaching them how to learn.
Yeah, they're teaching the test.
How to build knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, so I went to a high school where there were 4 buildings, and they loved to tell us how much that was to prepare us for the future, because you were going to have to walk between buildings at college.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. So my whole high school career,
rich boy school.
We were so
A,
loaded.
B, C building,
Although
I
will say it's not a good stereotype, but I did see someone do coke in the bathroom once.
So I came from a school of my graduating class, I think it was 104. My parents got divorced when I was 13, and I moved out with my mom in Tucson for a while. I went to a full college campus as a high school. I think the graduating class was like 2,500.
I was about to say, yeah, I'm sure it grew a little bit.
We want to talk about culture shock and growing up fast, but we've all heard it that we're preparing you for the real world. Not one fucking bit of. The only thing I learned in high school was how to cook a casserole in home ec, and that's probably the only thing I've carried over.
That's not true.
We learned how to square dance, but we never learned how to balance a checkbook or do taxes or how to cook for ourselves or anything like that.
I want to go back a step. There's no way that's all you learned in high school. You smell way too nice, and you have way too much like good trimming and things. You learned a little bit of this big city shit.
I worked at Abercrombie. That's where I learned that.
That's where he picked up all of his big city skills.
This explains a lot of things, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, his ostrich foreskin boots.
It's something.
They can't get wet, can't get sun, can't get snow, can't get dry, can't
What
get.
was that new boot goofing? It's genuine ostrich. Hey, payments.
Same with about 100 of my tennis shoes
I
too.
love you. I love you. I love you. All right. Sorry, Randy.
So we were talking politics last episode and everything, and I kind of held off on this question. We're talking presidents and vice presidents, the future, all that stuff. AOC just lost a bid for a top oversight committee recently. Yet there's a lot of people on the left that still say she's going to be the first female president. I'm going to ask you, Grant, because I mean you've had some positive things to say about her in the past and everything. Are her ideas too far left to get that kind of support, especially as like the squad, as they're known, is falling apart?
I think it's a possibility because you see how much you can really look at her as like a young Bernie Sanders at this point. So what I would say is that look at how Bernie Sanders was pretty divisive in the Democratic Party. He either had the people that loved him or didn't like him, and that didn't really allow him to win a presidency or anything special. I'm worried that she may go down that same road. But I think that and also I don't know if she'll be the first female president. I think that they're not going to put her up for a while. I think she's got 10, 15 more years before they'd even consider running her.
With her ideas and her sometimes idiotic comments, do you think that a formidable opponent will ever pop up in that district?
No. I also do think that that she has that district locked down. It's like there's this little, they love her too much. I do not see she'll be a career politician because of the district. She'll stay in.
And that segues right to my next question. Majority of the population has been wanting, demanding, asking for term limits. Will we ever see these people vote themselves out of a job?
Well, that's the main problem here is that if you do pass term limits, most of the people that you do have to get to agree to pass it would probably be kicked out of Congress. Or you could maybe say, hey, you guys can run for one more term, but then that you're done.
Well, I mean,
but I mean, well, take for example that woman. I don't remember her name, but she was found at a senior living home in the middle of Cary. She hadn't been to Congress to vote for like a month, and they sent someone.
No, it was over 6 months.
Okay, well, it was
been a while,
too long, and
I will say there's a great book by Vince Flynn called Term Limits. Now it's a little different. There's not as much voting. It's a lot more fascinating. But
well, there's that.
It is a really good book.
It's a little different.
It's kind of fun though because they start picking them off left and right, and it's basically all the old fuckheads. They're just taking them out.
Also, you have to look at
It starts
the Supreme
changing
Court as well when it comes to term limits, because it's like nobody voted these people in, and to have that much power for a lifetime is absurd. I mean, everybody loves Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but if she would have had
she waited
term
way
limits,
too
she
long,
waited
dude.
too long, and that's what allowed Trump to stack the Supreme Court in his favor. It's a shame that it happened that way, but that's why you have to have them.
As we said the first episode that I identify more Republican, I feel for you guys on that one. Everybody talks about how great she was. She was a great person, a trailblazer, really, for women's rights and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I mean, to go out that way.
I have full respect for her as what she's done in her career, but I mean, but once your health starts to decline, you have a Democratic president sitting.
I mean, she's like 90 years old.
No, you got to
cancer.
resign.
McConnell,
You got to resign.
You can only have so many strokes on.
You can only have those. You don't have so many edible freeze moments where you're like,
Wait, are you talking about Velveeta McMulty face?
Yeah, the guy who looks like a turtle.
Mitch. Yeah. Sounds kind of like
Same with
underdog.
Nancy
got
Pelosi, who want to go back
chins.
to the whole AOC not winning the oversight committee, it was because Nancy Pelosi broke her hip and then whipped votes from her hospital bed from Germany to get a guy who was just diagnosed with throat cancer to be the head of this. That's when you want to go back to why we lost the election. It's because they say they want all these young people to have their voices and stuff. Sure. The second we say we want this person, they're like, no, we know better.
You think, hey, no, you just hit it on the head, and I mean it. You say it loud and say it proud, like. That is the fucking problem, and it's that leadership. I mean, I think they did it with when they took Hillary without a primary over Bernie. Yeah, it's like, look, I know you guys think that this is what you want, but we know what's best. We are going to, forgive you of your sins and transgressions.
The career politician, where they sit there and say, "Well, it's better to vote me in because I have all the experience." Whereas you'd have to teach a new person. It was like you were born in the '40s. You have no idea what people of this generation want at all. Boomer. You were playing stickball for fun. Like,
I have a question for you. Stickball. I have a question for you. Actually,
everyone afford a bat and a baseball.
That's an old reference.
Everyone here, but Grant first. Do you know who Steve Galloway is?
No, I don't actually.
No.
Are you talking about the guy that was in the podcast that we watched? Yeah, I know exactly who it is.
Okay.
So
NYU I know that you, as a conservative, or more conservative speaking,
I'm apolitical.
Apolitical. There you go. You like him?
Yeah.
I think you should look him up. Okay. He runs a podcast. It's called Raging Moderates. Steve Galloway, Prof G. I
thought you watched that one.
I did not.
What was the one? Was it him with Theo Vaughn that we?
He was with.
Last one he was on Theo Vaughn.
No. It was Rich Ross.
He's on Theo Vaughn fairly recently too, and is a fucking great episode.
I work in 7-second segments, and he tries to send like 3-hour videos.
Dude, I know the feeling. I'm gonna tell you,
Randy's got to clean his boots every 7 seconds.
I'm way more on his side than your side here, man.
So going back,
I mean, you can't deny it though.
Terrible.
All right, going back from your guys' 7-second bullshit, you guys can have that in the closet later. But
that's hot.
Prof G, Steve Galloway, he runs a podcast called Raging Moderates. And I find myself enjoying his podcast a lot. Now, I will say I don't agree with everything. I don't love every second of it, but I will say I think the majority.
I think it's healthy as a human that we can listen to stuff and enjoy it. Yeah. We don't have to agree with everything without saying, fuck you, turn this off, I'm boycotting it, I'm calling every news station saying what a piece of shit they are. We have a problem with that in our society when we don't like one thing that's said. It's automatic cancel culture. It's okay to think different.
So I have a question for everyone now. Raging Moderate, is that the new? If that was the new political party, would you have any question about potentially affiliating yourself with that one?
I think I'd be willing to hear what they had to say.
You'd be open.
I mean, I would just throw it out there. That's probably just a libertarian kind of ideology, maybe. Or
I think it's actually the way that it would be described is the cliche that everyone loves to say, which is I'm financially conservative and socially liberal, progressive, left, whatever fucking term floats your boat. I don't care. I'm one sandwich shy of a picnic, so it doesn't really matter.
It's pretty close though.
I'm just flat out saying the Raging Moderates aspect of it. It really appeals to, I think, a lot of your age demographic, my age demographic, everyone but Brian's in this room. But
15 years older than I am.
I want to read my Bible with my gay friends smoking weed.
Well, it's just the
sounds like a good time.
While I have my concealed carry,
we can discuss
it's the group of people going, hey, I don't have enough money for you to keep increasing my taxes, and I don't care if they're gay. Let's just move on.
Well, that's, I think, another big reason that a huge problem with the Democrats was the amount of times that they were talking about how great the economy was. You can't say that and repeat it when nobody feels it. You know what I mean? The amount of people that can't afford housing or grocery bills or rent, and then you're sitting up there saying it's the best it's ever been. We're the best economy it's ever been. It's like, where's it at? You know what I mean? Is it in the room with us right now? Because it's
clearly we need to make it great again.
One of the few things.
I'm sorry, I had to vote. Hey, I set you up, and you.
One of the few things, though, that the GOP has been saying, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't think that we have the attention span to go through what it.
7-second point
I know.
over here.
To wait for
I don't
it to
think-
get worse before it gets better.
I don't think we have the attention span to understand or go through what it's going to take. It's going to be a huge collapse.
Interesting that Randers is making
Also,
this
a lot
point.
of billionaires need to stop saying "just get over it." It's going to suck for a little bit. Like it's like you are so out of touch.
That's true.
Makes people hate that side when they see the people in power. Like, well, yeah, it's gonna get bad, but you have to deal with it. It's like, yeah, but you're a millionaire. It's not going to affect you.
I get it, but I had a fun question for the last. I've had this same question for a few guests now. Imagine ending Amazon Prime for a week. Just imagine ending Prime 2-day shipping for a week. How much uproar would we have?
How much what?
Uproar would you get?
Oh, it would be bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
finally the Amazon employees will get a little bit of a break, but
Good point.
I'm just saying sometimes after you've implemented it into society, it's best to figure out how to work with the billionaire rather than fuck them. They've got to do it. All of a sudden it turns into a let's make it symbiotic rather
But
than.
I do think we're getting closer to like a class revolution than we are just free, peace loving. Like I do not see people sitting around and taking it much longer with all these just the blatant disrespect that billionaires have for just the everyday person.
All right, I want to talk about that for a second and hit you real quick.
Shade that back into philosophy a little bit.
You just said class revolution.
Class warfare, French
warfare,
Revolution.
but the key
Well, I don't think they have a choice.
Hang on.
You can't afford to house yourself anymore.
The key word you said to me is class.
I mean, Luigi.
So I challenge you, and this is not that I have the right answer. This is not that anyone in here does. I challenge you to name another place in nature as we know it that has a middle class.
I mean, sure, there's always like, I don't know how you could call it a middle class, but there's obviously the top predator and the bottom predator, and there's someone right there in the middle. So,
I mean, to bring that up, though, what you said, I did read a study recently about how there is nowhere in the history of the world where the middle class has thrived as long as they have in the United States. It's never even existed. It's always been kings and peasants. It's always been
that's Marxism.
the
man.
monarchy.
It's the bourgeois, the proletariat, dude. The haves and the have-nots.
That's all there's
oppressors and
ever
the
been.
it's been
Please.
that way. And I don't
Oppressors
think
and
it's
the
ever
oppressed.
really going to change without, because we'd have to top down, burn everything down, and restart it as a community society. I just don't see how we could
The problem is it's a very simple, for as an economy, it's a very simple way to look at it. And as with anything in our world, especially in our world, it's complicated. There are no single variable problems anymore, man. I mean, the pay gap for women is not just because of the patriarchy. It isn't, and that's a big part of it. It's a huge contributing factor. But you can't say that men don't do more dangerous jobs. They work outside.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that would facilitate that in some way. That doesn't make it okay. But we as a society, it's so hard to get into anything that needs to be done to make it better because.
But the problem is too, we keep saying that it's a
try to fix everything
patriarchy,
for
that there's a pay gap and stuff. We
can't make
keep
everybody happy.
we keep
Not at all.
we keep regurgitating that term, but if you look at the stats, women are making more than men now, especially in rural areas. I mean, urban areas. Sorry, not so much the urban areas, but the rural areas. They're not. Urban, they are making more than men.
Well, yeah, because I mean, rural areas, you probably have a lot more jobs that are blue collar and they're farm and they're labor intensive, and the women out there maybe can do like secretary work for the office that runs that. But yeah, you get into cities, you got.
I'm just going to throw this out here too. I work in a labor intensive job, and I have offered women saying, I know you're unhappy. You said you want to make more. You can make this much. All right, sign me up. What do I have to do? I'm not doing that. Well, maybe. What about the hours? Absolutely not. I can't work that many hours. And I understand it's not for everybody. It isn't. And
there are some tough women out there doing it, though.
there is. And I've worked with them, and they can do it just fine. But I will tell you that 95% say no.
Let me ask you this, though. We're all four in the middle class.
Yeah.
And I would argue that the four of us are in this class that is the loudest about bitching about classes. Because the rich accept that they're rich, and they usually try to either set themselves apart by being a dick, or they're usually trying to humble themselves like, some of the people that you see trying to come down a peg on TV and help out.
The middle class
Then
is
you also have
changed, though.
You also have the broke, though, who usually accept and just know they're broke. They've accepted and adapted to living within their means. And then there's the middle class that often I see people that are chasing secondary whiskey that can't afford it. And that's not
flip it though.
No. I mean, I saw guys in my old work that are out in their fucking out of their minds with what they're putting out there for what they think is a bank account. It's not. And there's a level that I think exists where the middle class is also of a certain mindset and mentality that's separated from everyone else too.
It's also being choked out too, though. I mean,
That's what I was saying.
if you're making $120,000 and you can't afford a moderate home, that's a problem.
Well, and the difference between, if you look back like the 80s and 90s, the difference between the middle class and then the rich versus the middle class and the poor now, it's about the same. We're way closer to being in the poor class than we are at all from reaching that higher up.
Well, the last 4 years post COVID have wrecked that. The inflation of the last 4 years. I mean, not. I mean, it's not even just inflation. It's interest rates. It's the cost of materials. Everything is 3 or 4 times higher. And the funny thing is all those supply chains fix themselves, and all that starts to smooth over. It's just like the Scotch malt whiskey tariff they did like 5-6 years ago. Prices instantly go up 20% across the board because it's got to come over to America. Those were rescinded like 3 years ago. Do you think the price came down a penny? No,
because they got away with saying that people would actually pay this price for this whiskey, and I mean, but that, if you want to get into tariffs, that's just what's going to cost with all this, 50% to like Canada and Mexico.
I mean, my point is, think about it. It's just wild to think about because right now, compared to 5 years ago, the housing market was on the rise anyway. That wasn't a COVID. That was not a COVID derivative. It was up.
Do you think it's another bubble that's going to burst again? Or
I don't know if I would say it's bubble yet, because prices have like tempered down. It's
that's why I said where a lot of the GOP saying it's going to get worse before. But the only way to stop what's happening is a lot of people have to lose their jobs.
Interest rates need to go down.
That's what that one billionaire said on TV. He was like, a lot of people have to be unemployed for this to work.
Yeah,
it's true.
I think the worst before better. There's a lot of aspect of that I think involves the infrastructure and where we stand because of outsourcing. And what I say by that is how much American steel is produced now.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, you look at all the Flint, Michigan things. Like they don't produce anything up there anymore.
I've worked for a steel plant. It's not open anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking that question. Like when you really look at it, America as a middle class drove a lot of things economically to be viable for that middle class by outsourcing. Now we're building those technology centers we talked about. We're building those semiconductor facilities. We're building those things.
Which is great, but America's not good at doing things cheaply.
Yeah.
But that's my question is that's the worst before better is I think you're going to find out. Guess what happens when your tech comes from America and American labor and people like us who need jobs?
Well, here's your problem. And this is just my opinion, but it's what I see. We keep saying minimum wage is not a livable wage, which we can all agree. It's not. But a lot of people will argue, hey, it's a minimum wage job. It's a intro to build your resume or to move on to something else, which, I could see that. But
not if you're a felon, then it's like your only job source. Like
it's true. Well, construction and that kind of stuff is good for that. But yes, I think once you serve your debt to society, as long as you're no longer a danger and something that, depending on your offense, they shouldn't be allowed to ask that. But with that being said, we keep raising the minimum wage.
We haven't raised the minimum wage since like 2007.
Sure, we have. It's $13.25 in Missouri.
It keeps going up.
Federal minimum wage, I should say.
Federal.
Like
because we have raised the
but states keep passing it. And with that being said, we're not following with the middle class wage increases. You get your 1-2% a year for living increase and stuff. But when you have a inflation of 25% and you get a 2% raise,
you got paid less.
Can I tackle that one really quick?
Sure.
I think it's because people are connected and they're too stupid to figure it out. I live in Missouri. I can go see on my phone what someone makes in California at the same position I do and think I should earn that.
Yeah, but it's the housing market down there is way
But
different.
it's a different so I then immediately argue, should
my-
federal...
Not anymore, though, it's all gone.
I mean, a 3,000 square foot home in California is 225.
Yeah.
And depends if you get in
Give
the
me a
hills, you're
second
the 4.
Give me a second here, baby. So if you have a federal minimum wage, what is that minimum wage? Is it based on Missouri, California, New York,
It's for
Arizona?
federal workers, I believe. It's not for, like...
I guess I'm only arguing that I think states' minimum wage should stay
Supersede.
to the states, and I think it should be also determined and based upon states because
Cost of living,
it
wherever
is
it's at.
different to live, and there's also, I think there you could even go a further derivative that's too far and take it to like county.
Because let's be honest, you need probably $45 an hour plus to afford a 1-bedroom home in California.
Oh shit!
Probably more than that.
you need
I mean, more than that. But we're just going to say
I gotta be
45.
honest, where you led that with the 45 an hour for a 1-bedroom home, I was like, what the fuck? And then you said
yeah.
California, I'm like, oh,
You can afford to
probably at
rent.
least.
I mean, you can afford to rent, but
Yeah, you can afford to rent, whatever. But that being said, can you imagine a cafe in Missouri having to pay their employees $45 an hour?
yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, but I mean, then you'd have to go back to the thing like where the housing market's more expensive, but goods and services are as well in California. Whereas, like, you may go to
Well, that's why
a place to get a boba tea here, it's like $5. There, it's like 13.
that's my argument is that you can't really base it on a federal rate because it doesn't blanket everybody the same and it doesn't benefit everybody the same. It hurts the business owners or it hurts the employees.
So one of the things that I would love to chat about here, on some of those cafes that can't pay 45 an hour, they pay 30 an hour, and it's up to the employee to get tips. And then when we all are going in there, we pay $30 for or $13 for a boba tea, and then it's, oh fuck you, I'm not tipping you. This is ridiculous. So we don't want to even help out there. So then that person does have an argument.
We should eliminate tipping culture to begin with. We're like the only place in the world that does it. It's barbaric. It's weird.
it really is.
But at the same
I'm
time,
not arguing. I'm just saying I
No,
can't
I'm just
fix
saying,
the system.
but then you'd have to that would also get into.
We're also the only culture that uses the horn to say "go fuck yourself" instead of anything about, "Hey, look at what I'm doing. I'm helping.
I
I'm
had no
helping."
idea.
but with that being said too, the way our
Imagine the
tipping
culture
culture works is, let's just say our minimum wage is $15 an hour. Well, your employer can pay you $2 an hour, and whatever you don't make of that extra $13 in tips, they don't have to worry about it. If you come short, they do. But that being said, I mean, we do have a problem there.
Well, also is a big lead to what could be inflation, because now you give someone $15 an hour for working at McDonald's. The person that was making $15 an hour working a job that was paying $15 an hour now
required
thinks they
something.
need like 20, 30 an hour, and then the people that make that now need 40, 50, 60 an hour.
And that was my argument when they tried to make
That doesn't help anybody, because then the price of goods goes up and it's all just costs the exact same amount, just percentagely.
Yeah.
As
You got
someone
more money,
who's-
it costs more.
As someone who's dealt pretty heavily in the service side of things and figured that out a little bit,
You may know a thing or two about it.
I will say one of the references from our previous episodes, Jason Eggers, Long Bell Pizza.
Yeah, man.
You know, this guy would attest to this. The worst, the people that bitch the most about the rising cost and the tips and everything else are the first people to also bitch about the slow service because there's not enough employees there because no one wants to do the fucking job.
Yep.
And it's an interesting juxtaposition because at a certain point there was a flip in the restaurant industry, and it was post COVID, not post COVID done, but like post the start of
I was
COVID.
gonna say that's when you saw them only opening the drive-throughs and no longer the
well, you also you get to the point where you're inside the restaurant and the service is slow and someone's wanting to complain about it, but they're also not willing to tip, and you then look at it and go, who's gonna take this job? Who's gonna take this job?
I think a lot of people don't understand too is that, yes, you need to staff for what you expect, but at the same time, before they even open, you're paying people there to prep. You're paying for product. You're paying for electricity. That cooler doesn't shut off.
Oh, I want to put this out there. If you get free ranch wherever you go, you should thank your waitress or waiter. And if you don't, fuck off, because they should charge you.
I knew it was coming.
They should fucking charge you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Do you guys charge for ranch?
We don't. But I can
thank
also
you.
tell you right now, we make it by hand and we don't. And we smile, we wave, and we give it to people for free. And 99% of the time, when someone goes, "Can I get 6?" Sure. We'll give you all 6, because the second we give you 4, you'll go to Yelp. 1-star us.
Yep.
But when we give you 6 and throw 3 away,
You cheap
I can't
ranch
punch you in the
bastards.
face.
Yeah.
I can't charge you. I can't kick you in the dick. I can't do anything that I
mean, you
wanna
could.
do.
You just introduce hidden fees to
All
your
I
bar
get
tab.
to do, all I
Not
get
be
to
great
do
for
is look
business.
at you and play passive aggressive t-ball, where I go, "Oh, it looks like you didn't need all of it, huh? But I guess next time you'll know."
everyone after 3 is a free dick kick.
I'm just telling you right now.
Yeah, everybody needs a good kick in the dick.
There are too many
up.
people that look
Don't
at
charge.
these things, look at these restaurants, look at these places, and they take every fucking thing for granted. They take it for granted.
Well, that's like with McDonald's. Everybody started bitching because they weren't just handing out the sauce pack. Imagine how many McDonald's there are. I don't know the number, but it's in the tens of thousands. And if each one gave away a 10-cent, let's just say 10 every hour, that shit fucking adds up to millions of dollars a week.
Imagine if people knew that the hot coffee is hot at McDonald's wasn't actually the lady's fault and she's not an idiot.
Yeah,
Imagine
that's true.
if people knew that truth.
Oh, I know. I've heard that argument where it was actually like everybody made fun of her, but it was like this.
It
a
melted through the
legitimate case.
fucking cup.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a problem, and it was way hotter than it should have been, and she almost died. Like,
I
it
don't
wasn't
think
just she
almost
burned herself.
died, but
No,
she got seriously burned.
No,
I
she
don't
almost died.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about the
She's an older lady, too.
She got burned. I knew she got burned bad, and
She
it was a
taking
big
McDonald's for
malfunction.
everything.
She's an older lady.
She
Too.
almost
But I
died
will
because
say-
she had to have reconstructive surgery to her private parts and everything
So
else.
let me ask you a question. How many times have you each, though, heard, "Oh, hot coffee is hot, that retard at McDonald's"?
Yeah.
Let's be real. How many times you heard that?
Yeah, but that's also
a lot.
just, people not doing their own research. I mean, but that also
No, that's just because
happened
they
long
see it and they
enough
just
ago where
assume-
you really probably couldn't have Googled that and figured out what was going on.
That's true,
You
too.
can YouTube anything.
It was covered up for a while
Wild West
there
back then.
fairly well, but then it got exposed.
Yeah, there was other lawsuits about malfunctioning cups, and they've been warned, and the temperature was like 50 degrees hotter than any coffee should ever be served.
And we definitely don't have enough time to talk about how much the McFlurry machines and the
I was about to
ice
bring
cream
that up
company.
because did you see that Biden passed? It wasn't specifically about McDonald's, but he passed a law that companies that service these machines, they can't just be like only serviced by that company. You have to outsource it. So, like, long story short, Biden fixed McDonald's ice cream machines, and that's such a Biden thing to do.
I like that
it is
such a
because
Biden
doesn't he
thing to do.
doesn't he eat ice cream every night?
Loves his ice cream.
I think that also, I might be wrong. I might be out of my ass here, but I'm pretty sure that also was a big tie-in to the whole John Deere thing. And that was a big thing in
it
ag.
was.
Where
I
they
didn't hear
couldn't-
about that.
I think it was.
Oh, there's a big thing in ag. You should look. It's like a huge thing about Farmers
My
vs.
buddy
Tech.
does,
Because they can't service their
yeah.
own machines.
does farm
And
tech.
the John Deere prices are exorbitant. And I shouldn't say John Deere over and over. Everyone, all of them were doing it.
Yeah.
But John Deere was kind of a specific focal point in that one. A specifical, especially.
Is that like a specific testicle?
But that fight
Just one
was
specific test.
I
Just
think
one
that-
specific
I think that fight was all in the right to repair.
I think you were, yeah. I
And
think
it-
you're right.
I
And it
think that-
extended over to.
I will give Biden a little credit because I think he actually did some work with a lot of right and left on this one to say, okay, fuck the big ag, fuck the big ice cream. We're gonna tell them all everyone can
I'm sure
fix
he
it.
did because the agricultural,
Yeah.
hubs of the nation are going to be red places anyways. So you'd have
Hold
to.
on. I
work
do
with-
think that's the first time anybody's referred to big ice cream.
Right.
Okay,
Ben and Jenny's over here.
We got like big pharma.
How many ice cream servicing
Big
locations
ice cream.
did they have? As Randy said, tens of thousands. Is there any other ice cream chain in this country with tens of thousands of servicing hubs?
Some company got really rich off of getting a contract
Taylor.
to repair.
Taylor. I'll oust them Taylors if anyone misunderstood that.
Taylor's?
Taylor.
no idea
They're
what
the
you're
ones
talking
that are
about.
big tied into McDonald's.
Oh.
All right, so we were talking earlier minimum wage and everything. Of everyone here, you were probably in school, the most recent. Do you have school loans?
Yeah.
And they suck, right?
Yeah, they're awful. I don't think that anybody should have to go to school and pay loans, period. I think that just is going to contribute to the dumbing down of America. We're already so low on education now that, like, you probably should offer all these dummies free college. Like, but I'll preface that by saying it does need to be tied to something like a grade point average. You can't just go and party and then have a 1.0 grade point average and get free college from taxpayers' dime.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If you have enough of those dummies that think they can go to college just because they were raised in the 90s-ish era, and they don't make it, can you open up a company that profits off of it and can open up a stadium like SoFi? Or name a stadium like SoFi?
I mean, we're in a capitalist society. I don't see why somebody wouldn't do that.
So maybe the No Child Left Behind kind of proves itself irrefutably a fuck up when you look at how many.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying
like
we adopt that to be like No Child Left Behind a college edition, but well, I just, you know, I mean, like I do think that there needs to be, and like I think we had talked about it, like, you know, there also needs to be incentives for people that want to go into law enforcement to get like criminal justice degrees, or like nurses, doctors, lawyers, people that are going to be public servants, and there is certain things for that, but the problem with it is, like, if you want to be a teacher, you have to be a teacher for like 10 years in a highly impoverished area, and then they'll think about reducing your school loans or whatever. What I would do is I would just reduce the amount of taxes they had to pay per year. I would just say, same with I would then, and then you could do that with the military and say, okay, well, no more free college for if you go 4 years in the military, but now you don't have to pay federal taxes.
Let me throw something fun at you.
Well, hold on, I want to get into this real quick.
You're driving again.
So we all can agree that. We brought it up earlier that, what is it, 52% can read at a sixth grade reading. We need to do something with our education. It has become a for-profit, and a lot of people agree that it's not really teaching people a whole lot unless it's a specific area. It's more just a ideology breeding ground, which through history, that's what college has been.
Breed activists, man.
I mean, but it's.
I mean, if you look back, like my mom and dad, I asked them how much they paid in their loans, and they were like $8,000 for like 4 or 5 years of college. Whereas, like you go, and my dad went into pharmaceuticals, my mom went into nursing. So today it would be like $150,000, $200,000, like on loans with an interest rate that's like
the quick
10%.
The quick fix of the issue that you're talking about is very, very difficult, because what you want, what the left wants in schools is a shift in tone and tenor. And it's, I'm not talking about teachers teaching them to be activists. I'm not. And what I'm talking about is all the weird, I'm not even affirmative action.
Ideologies.
Well, just all the programs that are introduced that require administrators. The amount of administrators on any college campus, I mean all the way from private schools to state schools to for-profit schools. What happened is you had this level of administrators at the top, then band that are managing, and then educators, right? Educators. Yeah. People that are educating. Now the educators are here, and the rest is like this. So it's all overhead. And I mean that kind of, it's an abstraction, but it's like, I think the most important thing on a university campus is your faculty. People that are teaching your students. Your
sports stadium.
Also, I think maybe get rid of tenure.
I agree. Yes. That's why, like, it's not political to me. I'm not like saying, oh, just get every DEI program off the campus. No, you could. That's one thing. But you could also fucking, like, not pump billions and billions of dollars into sports.
Well, yeah, I agree. But also, like I said, I think you should get rid of tenure, too, because then you get those college professors that end up getting tenure, and they're like, I'm just going to you can't fire me. I'm going to do whatever I want.
They're going to phone it in and everything else.
No, but I mean, maybe it's like basing off of all the Hollywood college movies I've seen with professors, but you know what I mean? It's just, it does give them an incentive to not have to be at the top of their game, whereas if you didn't have that, you get a new talent coming in and say, well, dude, you're not teaching your class like you've been teaching them the last 10 years.
I only say it's bad faith. I only say that that's bad faith because there is an absolutely intrinsic trade-off that educators make, especially, I'm saying like public school teachers in Missouri, like high school to elementary, and then public school professors in a state university. You forego money you would make in the private sector for a pension and job security.
I can imagine.
You really do.
I think about it that way, but that is right.
I mean,
but I
people don't go teach shitty fourth graders. People don't go teach shitty fourth graders because they're raking in the bucks and because it's like super satisfying.
Well, also, okay, maybe you don't get rid of tenure as a whole, but you make it like a 5-year thing where they need to, every 5 years you need to prove that you can still hold this tenure because you deserve the tenure. Like,
so we can't make education free, and we can't make it free because if we made it free, look at the college dropout rate. I mean, people just aren't cut out for it. Let's be honest. If we made it free, not everybody make it. So we're now spending money on people that aren't going to be there.
Just stop spending it on unnecessary military spending that we don't need. I mean, we could shave off like 10% of the military budget and probably have enough to make sure everybody went to college.
You know, I'll call bullshit on a lot of his arguments, but that's one I won't disagree with.
So with that being said, though, you can't make it free for everybody at all times. So you could shave down a lot of stuff. Do we need lesbian dance theory? Probably not. Do we need Taylor Swift economics? Maybe. She's really smart when it comes to it, but it's not going to help your average police officer do his job correctly and make better decisions than they're making now.
Can I clap something at you?
1 second, and you can. With that being said, if we make it free to everybody, then right now it's not free, and it's tough to get a degree.
It's not worth as much either.
We are having people come out of college with a bachelor's, and people are requiring a bachelor's degree for a $14 an hour job.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's fucking ridiculous. So now we make it free to everybody. Now they're going to want an associate's or a doctorate for you to have a $15 an hour job because everybody's got a bachelor's. I mean, it was just a free party.
To everything. I mean, sure, but then that just means that we're a more educated country to begin with. I mean, sure, it's not going to help the money aspect of it, but if we're all doctors, then
let's jump into that for a second here.
Go down a little bit.
But let's whittle it down to where we're actually teaching instead of pushing ideologies, pushing stupid classes that you will never use in the real world. And go ahead, Ken-Zee.
You're always going to get your stupid classes, and I get it. Lesbian dance theory, whatever. But you also brought up Taylor Swift at Harvard. Pointing this out, I'd take it in a fucking heartbeat. She's doing pretty well.
Yeah,
she's
doing well.
And I understand
Moving
that.
on, let's go back to what Grant just brought up.
But I still have a feeling it's not about the economics of her.
This isn't about Taylor Swift. This isn't about it. This is going back to the education, the freedom, the cost, etc. Multiple people in my life that I know well are doctors of different disciplines. Good on them. Guess what they all found out? When they graduated, they made too much money. Not enough to really live or do anything, but they made too much to get the interest of their student loan reduced.
Sure.
Their motivation there,
real problem with student loans.
Oh, it's bad, and I've seen it firsthand. It's ugly.
Mine was 13%. We finally got it down to 5.5. It was like unbelievable that they have the gall. Like some of these people are paying, like they want $1,000 a month. You pay $1,000, you pay $200 towards your student loan, and the rest went towards interest.
Let's backloaded, front loaded.
What about a doctor of dentistry? Graduates. Guess what? Your entry level position about $100K. Your student loans $250. Now you're paying on that. You don't get the interest deducted. You don't get any of those in a tax
And you have to have
credit.
a place to live. So basically a house payment plus a house payment.
Or then there's the other option. Go buy or start a dentistry firm and go balls deep in debt.
$1 million in debt right there.
But I think that would happen if you have those people that are requiring associates, masters, and things like that for a job. You find a lot more of them with more smarts now in that field. They would probably open a lot more small businesses.
I don't disagree, but you have your CVS's and your Walgreens and your dental depots and all this fucking bullshit. So what I'm getting at is we're incentivizing the wrong education because we get doctors and we don't even give them a tax break for becoming a doctor.
Kids these days, I don't even know what that is.
100%.
For real though, like the talking about incentivizing education. You want to become a doctor?
No, we were talking about dental dams.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, then you should also incentivize, because if we do make college free, a lot more people are going to stop doing blue collar jobs. You should make blue collar jobs a little bit more incentivized too.
I personally think every high school kid needs to go through blue collar jobs the entire goddamn time. I think that every high school kid needs to huck brick, needs to understand what it's like to go through shop class, needs to know how to cut wood. I also think that every
maybe teachers shouldn't say that you're going to end up digging ditches.
Yeah, oh my God, be a trash man. They'll always tell me you're going to end up being a trash man. It's like they didn't tell you that
they
trash
make
man
100K,
20-something an hour.
Make good money.
And if you get good enough, you just sit in a truck all day with a little arm.
I went to high school with a guy who's a trash guy, and he worked his way up, and he does way fucking better than anyone in this room. I promise.
Yeah, it's always cracked me up the amount of jobs that they were talking about you would end up being are actually jobs that my friends do, and they get paid better than I do. But I'm in IT. I should be more.
So with this educational concept, I have a question for everyone. Is it better to introduce that minimum wage, not minimum labor, the maximum labor minimum wage, the hard effort jobs? Is it better to introduce those in the public education system so that these kids can actually learn what that's like?
No, I think they should be honest.
They'd all hate it, and they would say, "Fuck this."
I think they need to be honest.
People go into these jobs is because they need money, not because that they wanted to go into it. Like most people aren't. I don't say that derogatorily, but most people you see that are like on a construction site and stuff, probably as a kid did not dream that they were going to be a construction worker or something
but they may love that job.
They may love it too. I'm just saying the vast majority of people don't like their jobs.
Let's be honest. The way to fix this is that quit shaming it and tell it what it is. Because I know, myself included, and a lot of people in the construction, gas, electric industry, they're all making six figures.
Great money.
Question for you, Randy. You've been in construction for a hot minute.
Yeah.
How many multi-generational construction companies do you own? Do you know?
Multi-generational?
Yeah.
Your father-son company.
I know a whole bunch. And I work for...
There's a lot out there, yeah.
I work for a fifth-generation guy.
Yeah. I believe it.
I'll tell you right now that I think...
Like 3 generations or something like that?
I know that guy pretty well. Doug's good people. Long and skinny, I will flat out say I think that construction actually has a long-standing tradition of learning a hard day's labor, learning a hard day's dollar, and understanding it. Because I will say I've seen a lot of construction boys with the lake houses. And it's dad that worked his dick off. And then it's son that saw that, started working it during the summers in high school, and then takes over. Yeah. And then also gets a lake house near dad.
What's a hard day's work too? But you got to look at it that way too. The generational. You are building. It's not much. But just that little bit every time, you're building a generational wealth that is carrying over. And I know many of people that have, they've built a nice house. They have their little pension. It's not much, but when they pass away, it's passed on. And they have the same ideology. They carry that wealth that they gained from their father over. And it does build up to actually being a pretty good living when you're your third and fourth generation and a nice little.
What I will say is I think we do our school system a little wrong. I think that you're like the UK does it quite well, where they
start like 16, don't they? Where you get separated by your IQ pretty much. And
no, well. Sort of. I mean, that's more actually with Germany. My sister did a foreign exchange thing there, and that's actually kind of like a Hunger Games thing where you're based on your IQ, and you're like, this is your job, and this is what you're going to do. And then if you're this down here, you don't really get an option to do anything else. But the UK will do up to 16 in high school, and then you decide whether you're going to go to university or not. And they do university from like 16 to like 21. And if you don't want to, then you go to trade school, and you decide what trade you want to do. I think that's a great, because then you spend that time that we would spend in college, just do those first 2 years doing like English, math, science, history. They knock that out in that first couple of years of high school, and then they go into college, and now they're just focusing on what they want to focus on.
Well, and I'm not even that old, but I when I was in high school, it was 20 years ago, but I think they've gotten away from it. We had vocational at 16. Your last 2 years, your junior and senior year, if you wanted to go into a trade industry, you went to the college, which they had a separate building. You did auto body. You did
too much liability, baby. We got insurance in this country.
They have that here. Herndon Career Center in this district.
But we had to separate it.
Food.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've never done this before, but we're going to carry this to a third episode, and you can save that thought. And we'll have final thoughts on the last episode. So we're going to carry this over to a third one, and we will see you guys next week.
Out.